Okay, so we did the search phase. We did the first panic phase, which didn't apply to us because none of our players were panicked. Yeah, so none of our players were panicked because everything was remained the same. So this is where it gets cool. So now well, it's been kind of cool all the way along, but this is the astral phase now. So this is where we get to deal with the astral track here. Okay, so what happened? Each character took their it's a bit confusing because I can't remember the terms for these all the time. So let's go this way. Each character took their psyche marker, which is this one here, and placed it on the room that they were on. They then took their astral body marker, incredibly, and put it on top of that if they were going to choose to exercise a room, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do that with both. And what happens to their status marker? It flips over to this body lying on the floor, symbolizing they're on the astral plane, so they've kind of passed out in the house, so to speak. Like I said, both players did that because both players are going to try this exorcism phase. So what happens during the exorcism phase? Well, you move your character as many spots as you want. Each character that we have only has 6 chits, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to move both of them too. So we're going to start with, this is the second player. Let's start with the first player who's here. First player is going to go 1. So first player started here, going to go 1, 2. Now the rooms that he was in and passed through, he puts 1 chit, and again, because this is a random thing, I'm not looking at them, just to mark his path. So it's basically creating a link from the astral plane back to his body and the physical plane. Fucking incredible as that sounds, that's what it is. Player 2 is going to do a similar thing. Gonna go 1, 2 over that way. This is player 2's chits, so same thing. 2 on there. So what happens next? So let's see. Okay, so basically, the one thing I forgot to say, each hunter in turn states whether his character will move on the astral map this phase. If the hunter does not want to move on the astral map, he skips this step and goes to step 8. Otherwise, it goes to step 3. So, again, we've decided we're going to move. So if a hunter's character is Kate, Father Doran, Dr. Evans, Opal, or Rourke, he skips this step and goes to step 4. So one of our characters, player 2, is Kate. So we'll come back to that. The other hunters, in turn, each roll 1 die. In each case, if the resulting number is less than his character's psychic strength, the hunter places his astral body marker on top of his psyche marker and does all those things that I stated. The reason I scanned over that and didn't tell you that part is A, I forgot. B, they both have a psychic strength of 6. So in each case, if the resulting number is less than his character's psychic strength. So yeah, I rolled under a 6. You know, whatever the percentage of chance that is, it's pretty much a guarantee that you're going to get to do that. Now, what's interesting is that if you are in control of Kate, Father Doran, Dr. Evans, Opal, or Rourke, you don't have to do that. You can just automatically do it if you want to, because of their powers that they possess. They're just able to do this so they don't have to roll the dice, basically. So So there's a little bit of talk. If you encounter a character who's lost on the astral plane, you can save them. Nobody's lost, so we didn't have to worry about that. Each hunter whose astral body occupies a power point on the astral map states in turn whether he will create a lifeline for his character. We did. Each hunter who states in step 6 that he was creating a lifeline now creates the lifeline in turn by placing one power marker from his selection of the power wheel in each power point through which he moved his astral body in step 5. No power markers are placed in the power points occupied by his astral body or his psyche. So, which is what we did. Now, if you want to perform an exorcism, here's where we'll catch up. Each hunter in turn announces which one power point occupied by or next to his astral body or psyche he will exercise during steps 9 through 15. The entity is always considered to be in a single power point next to all power points in the 4th circle for this purpose. So you get to choose one of the points. So just as a random thing, I'm going to choose this one, and then I'm going to choose this one over here. So we've chosen them. So now what you get to do, you can also choose it against the entity. You can also choose it against this inner circle, which if you'd won, he would lose control over the one axis, which means that in the following turn, he'd only pick up 11 power chits instead of 12. So the more you attack that, the less he's going to be able to pick from the cup at the beginning of the whole phases of when the phases reset to step 1 again. Obviously, if you're combating him, if you win, then you've beat the spirit in the house, kind of thing. So for this first time, I'm not going full on there. I mean, I could have from here tried to do that, but instead we're going to stick with these now so I can show you this. So what do you do? Well, each hunter in turn places any number of power markers from his section of the power wheel on the power point that he wants to exercise. A hunter can choose to use no power markers for this purpose only if the hunter's astral body is next to the power point he is exercising and is in a different power point than his psyche. Otherwise, he must use at least one power marker. Okay, so maybe I misunderstood that. Announces which one power point occupied by or next to his astral body or psyche he will exercise. So it was my misunderstanding. So I can still do this one here, but I also have a choice. I can do this one or I can try this one. So I'm going to try this over here, which is the upstairs study. So we'll give that one a try. So now I can put as many chits there as I like. So this is the first player. What the heck? I'm going to go, I have 4 left. I'm going to go all 4 right on top. And for this young chappie, she is going to try private study. And she's going to do the same thing. Use all 4 of them. It's worth it to note right here that whatever you don't use, you don't get to hold them over on the next round. At the end of this round or the phase, when we reset, all of this gets reset. So anything that's left over goes back to the cup to get drawn again. So if you're going to try this exercising, and you'll see why in a moment, it's probably worth it to use as many as you can for the one room, and you'll see why momentarily. So, now that that's happened, the house moves any number of his own power markers from his section of the power wheel to each power point being exercised up to the value of the circle on which the power point is found. Thus, the closer the power point to the center of the astral map, the more power the house can focus on it. Now in this situation, we're going to be taking the top number, so it's a 1/6. This one is a 1 over 4. The 1 symbolizes we're on the first ring, the outer ring. The 2 would be this, the 3 would be this, the 4 would be this. So if we're on the 4, he could pick up to 4 of these to add to basically the fight. It's the fighting stage. But because we're on the 1 ring, he only gets to add a maximum of 1 to each battle, basically. So then we fight. Where's my pencil here? So pencil there. Let's start with the first hunter. And we look at our chits that we had. I will just read them out to you. So we have a 4, a 3, a 1, and a 1. So that's 9. We roll 1 dice. So 9 plus 2 is 11. This is for section 1 over 6. Hunter got 11. House. So for 1 over 6, the house has a chit of 1, which you add to a dice roll. So a 1 plus 4 is a 5, and then you also add the 6 there. So that makes it 11 as well. So the house got 11 and we got 11. So you can see right away why it's worth it to add as many chits as possible, because you're dealing, especially in this situation, and as you get closer to the 12, obviously you're going to be adding higher numbers regardless of how, and then of course adding whatever amount of chits he's able to supply. So I mean, if it's here, he'd supply 3 chits, which you'd add to a dice roll, plus 6. So you really want to stack your deck, so to speak. So we'll leave that one at that for the moment. We'll put this at the side so we know that we've done that one. And now we'll go to the next one. When the chits are done, they go back into the cup to be redrawn later on. So who do we have? Kate here has 2, 4, 5, 6. A 6 plus a 1 is a measly old 7, and this is for the section 1 over 4. So she has a 7. And what does our entity have? Our entity has a 2 plus a 5 is a 7 plus a 4 is an 11 again. Okay, so the entity 1, I'll do this one first. The entity 1 for Kate's. So what happens to Kate? Well, nothing happens to the room. It stays on that side. Kate is here on our soul track. Because she lost, she goes down 1. So she's at 5. If at any time 0, that's it for Kate. So long, Kate. Now what happens if it's a tie? It doesn't state in the book. Let's see if it says in the cheat sheets. I'm going to pause you and I'm going to read and I'll be back. So, according to the cheat sheet, where is it? The hunter wins if the number is more than the house. So it has to be more than. So if it's equal to or less than, the hunter loses. So we had player 1 lost, correct? Because 1 was 1, 6. Was right there. So player 1 lost as well. So both of them lost. So both, sorry, I'll aim at what I'm looking at. So both of them went down 1 number. They started like this, and they've both had to go down 1 because there was a loss on both sides. Okay, so what does that mean? What else happens? Each hunter who is lost rolls 3 dice. So no hunter is lost at this point. So a part of what happens now is that now they want to leave the astral plane, basically. So, each hunter whose astral body is on the astral map counts the number of power points he entered during step 5. So, for example, the first hunter started here and went 1, 2. So 2 plus a 7 is a 9. You roll 2 dice. Each hunter who performs step 16 rolls 2 dice. He adds the number of power markers in his lifeline, if any, which there aren't any, unfortunately. Maybe reason to leave maybe 1 or 2 behind. If the modified result is less than or equal to the number found in step 16, the hunter becomes lost and his astral body marker is flipped over to the lost side, which happened to our first hunter. So Lorenzo is now lost on the astral plane because he had to beat a 9 and he didn't do it. Kate, on the other hand, was able to beat, because she had a 4 plus 2 is a 6, and I believe she rolled an 8. So that means she got to go back. All her chits went back to off the board here to go again. And moves unconscious marker. Regardless of the outcome of the dice roll, the hunter returns all power markers from his lifeline to the power cup. So all our power markers. Oh, wait a second. Each hunter who performs step 16 rolls 2 dice. He adds the number of power markers in his lifeline, if any. Oh, I did have some. So, my mistake. I created a lifeline from my astral body back to the physical realm. So let's do this again. Counts the number of power points he entered during step 5, which is 1, 2, and adds the number of the circle in which his astral body is currently located. So 7, I'm going to turn this over for now. So 7 plus 2 is 9. So we have to beat a 9. Each hunter who performs step 16 rolls 2 dice. Let's roll 2 dice. 4 plus 1 is a 5. He adds the number of power markers in his lifeline, if any, and subtracts 1 if his character's psyche is vulnerable. His psyche isn't vulnerable. So we have a 3 and a 2. 5 plus a 5 is a 10. So we got 10. So that means we are good. So this changes. That guy goes there. His body goes back to the house. And he's back. So there you go. I hope I got that right. I would assume it didn't just mean add 2 to the number. I would assume that you would turn them over and add those numbers. That's what I'm going to do. If it's wrong, too bad. That's how I'm changing the rule. So he's not lost on the astral plane, so he's good. And we can do the same. Since Kate won, there's no need in... got a higher point value anyway. There's no need in re-rolling this, redoing this. We'll just leave her where she is. So as you can see, we've had 0 effect on the astral plane, but it was pretty freaking cool anyway. And at this point, all of the power markers from the power wheel get returned back to the cup. Even the just says Hunter, but let's hope that even our entity, even the house, returns. So there you go. That's the astral phase. So we made it out alive. Pretty cool. A little confusing the first time. but I think it'll get easier. Plus, when you're playing with other players, you can focus a little more on the specific rooms you might want to go into, and you might want to travel through when you do your little bit of traveling. You might want to just make a beeline right for this outer ring here as well. And then again, being the house, you'll be able to focus a little more on that side of things too, which I think will make a big difference right now, learning the game, playing basically 3 players. I didn't care which rooms were which, I just moved through. I'm sure that comes into a strategy later on as far as which rooms you go to. So there we go. And now we enter the possession phase, and it says if any character with a vulnerable psyche is in a space on the house map matching the room marker on the astral map that doesn't contain a pentagram, the hunter places a psyche marker on that matching room marker on the astral map if it is not already there. So none of that applies to us. So I think that this is going to negate this possession phase. But we'll see, because we're reaching the end. There's possession phase, there's the second panic phase, and then we're into the hour phase where the hour clock is going to move 1 ahead. That's a cool shot. There you go. Try it in... There we go. That took me forever to figure out that. So there you go, the hour map. So I'll read these last few sections, and when I come back, we will finish up our first full turn, and we'll wrap it up. Okay, so a few interesting things in the last few phases. There's a possession phase. So first things first, I did get rid of those 2 quickly, but that's okay, because none of this stuff that's going to happen now applied to my characters at this moment. So I'll read you through them. So basically, the possession phase, if there was somebody trapped on the astral plane with their vulnerable psyche, the house or the entity can choose to attack them. First thing he can do is these focus markers, where he's going to have any haunts in the next phase of the game or the next round of the game. He can move any or both of those. There's some limitations as far as things that have happened around him. If he's surrounded by like exercised rooms and he has no choice, then that'll basically close the portal. You'll have to flip it over like so to show that it's closed. If you move to one of those spaces, it negates the use of the portal basically. So what he does is now he will attack an entity, or a hunter, sorry, whose psyche is damaged. Same rules apply for placing the chits. He would have sort of the same rules apply. The host states which psyche markers occupying the astral map he will attack. He can attack all, some, or none of the psyche markers on the astral map during this step. For each attack, the host selects a number of power markers of his choice from his section of the power wheel, equal to or less than the number of hunters who started the game. So in this case, it has nothing to do with that. It's equal to or less than the number of hunters that started the game. He places these markers on the power point containing the psyche marker. We'll pretend that it's this one. So he would place 2 chits there. Each hunter whose psyche marker was designated in step 3 states in turn how many power markers he is moving from his section of the power wheel to the power point occupied by his psyche. There is no limit to the number of power markers each hunter may commit to the defense of his psyche. So this is where it gets interesting, whereas before I said it's better to use a lot of them in your battle. It's a gamble, because if you lose, then you'll have nothing to defend your psyche from an attack by the house afterwards. So it's pretty important to use those wisely, and especially early in the game, maybe it's worth it just to move 1 space, or you don't have to move at all is the other thing. You can choose to stay still where you wouldn't use any of them. You can still try to exercise one of the rooms that are beside you, which would be this one, and this one, for example, if you were in this room or space there, this axis bubble there. The fight occurs. If the house wins, there's a penalty for the hunter, which is going down on a track. If you go to 0, obviously the same thing happens. If you win, let me just reread this. In each case, if the hunter's total found is greater than or equal to the house's total, the hunter wins the contest and there is no further effect. In each case in which the house's total is greater than the house's, sorry, it's getting late. In each case in which the house's total is greater than the hunter's total, the house wins and the hunter's soul marker is moved 1 box closer to 0. So there you go. Now is when all the chits that are left over would get placed back into the cup. And then we would have a second panic phase, which again doesn't apply to us because each hunter whose character is panicked rolls 1 dice. None of our characters are panicked. That hasn't come up in any of our time here so far. So we would skip that. The last thing to happen would just be advancing the hour 1. So now it is 7 p.m., which brings us to the end of the first kind of playthrough, the first round. And I think I'm going to leave it there. It just gives you a good look at the game, hopefully outlines some of the basic rules. From there, obviously, as the game progresses, there'll be differences that happen. There'll be more haunts in the rooms. There'll be some of these places that are exercised, which will change things. You might have affected that outer circle and made a path to the entity, which would obviously change things a lot too. But as much as it did take a little bit of reading, I would highly, highly recommend downloading all the cheat sheets and everything that is on the Nightmare House page at the BGG site, and use those along with the book. And if you just take it slowly, if you kind of dedicate a handful of hours to it like I have, if you have that kind of time, just take it slowly, step by step. It's relatively easy. And it's pretty damn fun too. I think it's a fascinating game. It really, again, I can't stress this enough, but the theme is very, very apparent, and I really like that aspect of it. I love the psychic plane that you can astral project to kind of attack the creature as part of your turn, and then continue on looking through the house for different things and unlocking more stories when you find out more information. Eventually when you get to the haunts, what that's going to mean. Let's just look at exorcism, possession, haunt summary. Let's just read a couple of these here. So if you were to come across one that says cold spot, a mysterious spot of Arctic cold appears in the air and begins to swell, causing the temperature in the vicinity to drop precipitously and coating everything with a pale glittering rime. So that didn't do much. Creeping mist, a cold, oily mist slips across the floor and rolls around your feet, becoming thicker with each passing second until finally it obscures everything more than a few feet away. So again, it just adds a little more theme to the overall play. I like it. I think it's a pretty great game. I'm going to play it again, but not tonight because I'm going to bed. Mr. Tom, I think, will love this as well too. So I'm looking forward to when I've done a whole playthrough with the family. Maybe I'll do another short video where we talk about it and talk about what we thought of it and what specifically came up. But the Aries Magazine, Nightmare House, pick it up, and if you can, it's something I haven't done yet. This is issue number 15. Apparently in issue number 16 there were some additions to this. There's a site, is it archive.org, I think, that has all the Aries magazines. So if you want to hunt for number 16 like I'm going to do, find the pages that specifically talk about Nightmare House. I'm going to pick those up and print them off as well, so I can add it to this game and see what they clarified and see what changed. All right, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.